Hey everyone. So we'll see how this goes. Um, I want to say right now, I'm not making any promises about this series, and the reason is my recording equipment is pretty bad. There's a reason I'm reluctant to do Let's Plays and reactions because of my recording equipment. Until I get a capture card, which I have one all picked out, I'm just waiting to get one. They're risky. So, here's what's going to happen if this does go all the way through. If something happens and a part gets dropped for whatever reason, YouTube crashes or whatever, I'm going to just move on, go to the next part. I'm not going to try to duplicate everything on a new build to give you guys that part. I'm not going to do that. That said, let's start. So I put a lot of thought into what I wanted to do. As you can see, I'm not very creative with my names. And I finally decided on a Dex tank. Now, why am I choosing the Dex tank? Well, it just so happens that the weapon that's been my ace for about a year now, year to year and a half, is a Dex-oriented straight sword. And I like to be tanky, so Dex tank. I don't know how long each part will be. They'll vary. The thing is, though, the first part, what I want to do with the first part, okay, is get to the tower on the wall bonfire. The reason for this is the weapon I want to use for this playthrough is the Lothric Knight Sword. Honestly, I feel sorry for Yorm as a boss. It's not so much as lore. It's more the fact that a boss like that, a gigantic dude with a big weapon moving relatively quick, should be one of, if not the toughest boss in the game. Because, logically, I know it's fantasy and everything, but that always gets me. Because for him to be that size without his body basically destroying itself, he has to be very, very durable. So it would be he'd be very, very tanky. And they do sort of play into that with the Storm Roar being the only thing that really hurts him. So I guess I can make an exception there. Let's keep it simple and just say knight, because that's what we're going to be, a knight. So I do feel bad for Yorm, and on top of his overall tankiness, because to him that thing's not much more than a great sword, he would be able to move relatively quickly, which he does move relatively quickly. And he does hit hard. Like, that thing would hit you very hard, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like he should do more damage and not have such a crazy gimmicky way to go down. Honestly, I hate gimmicky bosses because they ruin my immersion. Unless the gimmick makes sense. Like, one of my absolute least favorite bosses is the Ancient Wyvern, which I've never fought. But you go around it, you jump on its head, and it dies. Like, okay, I want an explanation for why jumping on this giant dragon's head is an insta-kill. I want an explanation for that. It's just, I like immersion. I really want to be immersed in the game, and gimmicky bosses like that, they wreck my immersion. Now, then there's, and bosses like the Ancient Wyvern or Yorm, they would be nearly impossible to kill without their gimmick. So you're kind of forced into fighting them with the gimmick, and honestly, I don't like that. I'd like them to be more doable without the gimmick, and just not have the gimmicky kill. Which, what I mean by a gimmick boss is a boss that just has a crazy weakness that makes him just go down like it's nothing. And I don't know, it doesn't really feel like a boss fight to me. I've always had that about me. I've never really liked gimmicky bosses because of that. It kind of wrecks my immersion. When I think boss fight, I think a legitimate fight. Okay? I don't think a gimmick. I don't think of just cheesing my way to victory. But like Ludex, for example, he's supposed to be weak, and while parrying him is in a way a gimmick, it's not so bad because he's a tutorial boss. You're supposed to use him to learn the ropes of the game. He fulfills his role. No problem with that. Also, once you get past his first phase, parrying is not an instant win against him. He's weak, but he's not a gimmick. The difference being, he has a weakness to parrying, but a new player is not going to be too successful with parries. And on top of that, it's not like you parry him and it's basically over. You genuinely have to fight Ludex, so I don't have a problem with that. Vord, as much as he annoys me, it's not that he's tough, it's that I'm always getting hit by, like, he'll turn around and kick me somehow, or something like that. I'll get hit by stuff like that, and dodge his real attacks, but he's the kind of boss that I kind of prefer. Even though some of those less gimmicky bosses are really annoying, the Twin Princes come to mind. I don't like the gimmicky bosses, I really don't. And like, the Cursed-Rotted Greatwood. There is an example of a boss that has a gimmick. And this gimmick, I don't like that fight because it doesn't explain why those weak spots actually work. I've always had this problem in games. And there's to my knowledge, pretty much every game about fighting bosses has at least one or two gimmicky bosses, which I just hate. So, where are we on time? Alright, about 11 minutes. In that case, I'll go ahead and go fight the Swordmaster. We'll see how this goes. I usually screw him up when I'm using a straight sword. But we'll see. You know, it's funny. Most fast weapons I'm pretty much good with after a little practice. But dual wield weapons, which are considered to be the best PvE weapons, or whips, which are just pathetic, I suck with. And what's considered to be the best PvE weapon is maybe one of the weapons I struggle with most, and that's the Sellsword Twin Blades. Among fast weapons, I'm still better with it than a big boy. I'm not used to having this tiny bit less range of the longsword. I'm used to the Lothric Nightsword. Okay, I'm pressing the roll and not moving. I have tried to do this before when I was really, really bad and my builds were horrible. And I was just getting murdered by the time I reached Halfway Fortress. At the time, I could not get past the Abyss Watchers. Now with the proper character, it takes the freaking Twin Princes to give me problems. I'm gonna try to keep these videos 30 to 45 minutes, but if we go over, just know that it's because we don't have a good stopping point, like we haven't hit a bonfire or something. That's one thing that can make us go over if we haven't hit a bonfire. And with this, with these videos, I don't know I'll really do the one video per week system. Sometimes that might happen, sometimes it might not. It will be inconsistent. I may do a few videos in one day sometimes. I don't know. It really depends on how I'm feeling. But that's the only way I can see myself getting through a Let's Play, honestly. So it'll just be whenever I feel like doing another part. There's a reason straight swords are my ace. And to think I used to hate the very idea of straight swords because I thought they were too scummy. Like, I don't know why I had that moveset. It's PvE for crying out loud. I don't know what armor set I really want to do end game. I'm probably going to end up using maybe the Black Knight or Exile set. I don't know. Maybe Wing Knight. The most likely ones would probably be the Cathedral Knight or the Wing Knight endgame. Also, I don't know if I'm going to do all the new game classes or not, but I'll definitely do at least new game. But most of my Dark Souls content is really just either me before I knew what the heck I was doing, or me talking about something specific. This Let's Play is a way for me to just show you me going through the game in Dark Souls. This guy's sword is the weapon I want to use. Which, honestly, the Lothric Knight's sword, it is the weapon I recommend to a beginner. You can get it super early game. Practicing your skills on the Lothric Knight is good because, like, there's some challenge to a Lothric Knight, but ultimately, if you can't even handle a Lothric Knight, forget beating Vord, who is weak by soul standards. And as for the weapon itself, it requires 11 strength and 18 dex to one hand, and you will be one-handing it because it's a straight sword. Which isn't that bad. It's more strength, but it's more dex, but it works well on quality as well. It does good damage. It gets a lot of thrusting. Like, okay, so it has the generic R1s of a straight sword. It has stance, all that. But then, instead of like where the long sword has that slash, it just goes thrust, thrust, thrust. It just thrusts. So it's really just a really good weapon. gonna do one run here trying to get the weapon, and then I'll end the video. And before the next part, I'll just be here grinding basically. Now, if you want to go into PvP, you're gonna want this guy's shield no matter what. It's a bad shield, but a lightning lost ignite shield is just really good for dealing with lightning spammers. Otherwise, the only thing you really want from this guy is his sword. Ever. There's not really much point in going after any of his other gear, but he does drop embers and titanite. And a nice chunk of souls for someone right at the beginning, so he's a really good guy to go after when you're starting out, especially if you're doing a dex playthrough or quality playthrough, or even a mage. Honestly, if you're doing any build that is not strength, he's good to grind. So I'm gonna end it there. We had about a 20-minute video. I'm not gonna try to force myself to make longer videos. If these videos are shorter, like 15-20 minutes, they will be shorter. And I also want to see how the shorter videos do, the 15-20 minute videos do. Tell me in the comments what you prefer, especially for Let's Plays. And I'll see you all next time. I really do want to know what you guys prefer. If you prefer 15-20 minute sort of videos, or if you prefer the 30 to 45 minute videos. Note that 15 to 20 minutes are a lot easier to upload because there's less to upload, but they can be harder for me to do, hard for me to record, just because it does give me a more restricted amount of time. So just keep those in mind, but if you have a preference, tell me in the comments, and I'll see you all next time.